The continuation of my story, how to face myself. All other parts of this story down in the comments below. Yesterday my wife asked me if I was coming home on time and I told her I was looking forward to it. She had a hard day with our oldest son, special needs, as he was pushing all her buttons. When she was sharing this with me, I was thinking that she deserves all this. I told my wife I will take him trout fishing. Well, traffic was horrible last night. I think it had to do with the United States Open that is being held near my home. Took me almost 2 hours to get home, but I was in a good mood. I told my wife that what she did for me the night before has really carried over to today, and she responded positively. My son wanted to go to church, so no trout fishing, and we sat down to eat dinner. My wife looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Thanks for giving me another chance." We had a nice dinner and took our son to church. I went to bed and had horrible dreams. I shared this with my wife this morning and I thought she was ignoring me as she did not respond and walked out of the room and into the bedroom. I just thought she was giving me some space to clear my head. I did not go into the details of the dreams, her and the XOM. I took Ruddy, our golden retriever, out, and when I came back in the house my wife was on the bed with her Bible. She read a verse to me out of Isaiah. It was just what I needed. I shared that with my wife and she stated that she needed it as well. I still am wrestling with thoughts about the pastor. The one positive thing that he did was open my eyes to my wife's family, as they believed the words of a stranger over me and did not ask me what really was said. Every night we get in our hot tub, take a shower, and go to bed. Last night I asked my wife while she was in the shower if there had been any contact with the OM. She said no. I was laying on the bed and she came in and said, "OP, I want you to know it is over. I will not hurt you again. I have caused too much pain and will not do that again." She then asked me if I understood that. I told her that I am trying. She then asked me why I asked the question, and I said I heard through a family member of the other man that their marriage might be over. The OMW stated in the past that, if he ever did it again, she would D him. Well, he never stopped, and when I contacted her, she did not believe me. The following day he confessed to her. I told my wife he may come looking for her if his marriage is over and she better prepare for that. She said, "I doubt that he will, but if he contacts her in any way, she will let me know right away." Going to try to have a good weekend. I have to work tomorrow as we will be meeting with family members of soldiers that are deployed. So, it will be a short weekend. I am watching my back and my front. I am skeptical, but I finally do see a big change in her. She told me last night that she fears that one day I will not show up. It is ironic that there have been nights where I just don't feel like going home. Perhaps I am projecting that and she is picking up on it. I am working on R and will give it a try. Anger. She stated that I have always been angry, and that statement came from her during the time I was pursuing D. I was not an angry person. Last year when I had angry outbursts, it was not how I acted in the past. Like my oldest brother-in-law explained to some of her family members. He said when my wife was complaining to them about my anger and other things, if you took out the context of her cheating, my behavior would have been wrong. But if you put my reactions into the fact that my wife was cheating during those times, he says my behavior makes sense. Though I will not make an excuse for getting out of control last year with drinking and rage, my wife did not help at all with her continued lies, deceit, and staying in the affair. I have always felt that I am easy to talk to. My wife has complained that I do not listen to her. Again, those complaints came during her affairs. I can honestly say that there have been times where I have basically begged my wife to share things with me. Her reply many times over the years is that she stuffs things and is more private. I have told her recently that I will no longer buy that and that we both need to share things. I know for a fact that there have been several times in our M where she was very open about things. She does feel from time to time that I am talking down to her. She has complained about this, but within the context of the M, the only time this comes up is when she is looking elsewhere or is with someone else. I do believe if you would ask her now how she feels about these issues, she would say that she does not like me drinking. I stopped, that the anger was caused by her lies, but that I went over the top last year. That it is her that does not always open up, and that it has nothing to do with whether I listen to her or not. The issue of me talking down to her was never an issue other than times when she was having affairs. I am open to most criticism and have been beating myself up, but upon reflection on these questions that I have asked myself, I will have to say that though there were moments in the marriage where I was not there for my wife, they were early on in the M, and those were times where there was nothing earth-shattering going on in her life. They were not crisis times, but as our M developed, I was there for her. She has told me that I always made her feel safe and that she was the one who went astray. All the while I gave her a sanctuary. These are her words. I was her rock, her words, when her father passed away almost 10 years ago. She also told me that she felt she could always come to me. Listening to the various recordings, that is one of the painful parts of this entire mess, is that the things she is sharing with others are things she should have and could have shared with me. Ironically, many of the things she is sharing with the XOM are lies. She told the XOM that her one sister and she have fun times together. Yet she and her sister rarely ever did anything together and never really ever had fun together. She told the XOM about what she did when my father died last year and how we, my family and I, responded. It did not happen the way she explained it. When her mother passed away, she pushed me away as she had just started her new affair. When she complained that I was not there for her during this time, I told her that I asked her over and over again if I need to take time off work to be with her, and she said no, that she is doing okay. I remember several times that I told her I would be leaving work to be with her, and she said, "Don't. I am okay." She did not want me or need me because she had turned to someone else. During her affairs, she spun the entire marriage. When I went to the emergency room back then, she did not care that I had Rocky Mountain fever. All she wanted was me to bring the car home. When I had to go to the emergency room in January, she refused to take me. Yet when I was pursuing D in February, March and April of this year, I took her to the emergency room twice and even left work to do so. She would not have done that for me during that time. Presently she is answering every question, but I am not pushing hard right now. I hurt a lot and now I am trying to deal with this pain. My wife knows I am going through a rough spell, and she said something to me this morning, that she does not want me to shut down and that I have been very quiet the past several days. I asked her how she is doing, and her response is that she is doing very good and that she knows that I am not, and she wants me to talk about it. She has said to me several times that she is here for me and is willing to talk. Right now, I am having a tough time talking to her about it. I don't want to blow up at her, and I can feel at times I am on the verge. So, this evening I will sit down and share some things with her. Last evening my wife came to me. She told me I have been avoiding her and went through a list of things I have been doing. I explained to her that I am not avoiding her and went over her list. I said, if I am avoiding her, why did I finish painting the bathroom like she wanted me to do when I came home from work yesterday? I said, you asked me if I could finish painting the bathroom, that there are places that are too difficult for you to reach. I told her I did exactly what you asked me to do. I asked her, how can I be avoiding you when I heard what you wanted me to do and I did it? She said she is very sensitive and is worried about how I have been the past 5 days. Not talking much, seeming down, etc. I said I am numb and I am depressed. I said it feels like I have been hit with a tidal wave the past few days. Then we talked for a long time. I believe my wife has come to the point where she is truly sorrowful. The night she cut her hair said a lot to me. It would be a long story, but the significance of that evening was powerful, as she handed me her hair with a bow wrapped around it. I handed her my wedding ring, saying the M is over. She started crying, saying she never expected me to hand her my ring. I had almost sold it hours before. She said, I cut my hair for you to show you how sorry I am. I knew what it meant, but it took me a while to come back to her and talk. She told me she changed. Last night she was talking quite a bit about how wrong she was and that she keeps asking herself, why? That with all the pain she has caused me, that she feels like the lowest scum on the earth. She said she can't believe the person she became and that she will prove to me that she will never hurt me again. Yes, there will be pain no matter if I R or D, so why stay? I have not made a final decision. If she is true to what she is saying, then there is hope. Certainly, the poly has been in my mind for a while, though there have been quite a few here who feel it is a waste of money. I have found a good technician that is an hour away. He charges $600. I guess with the way she has come clean with this recent, that everything else would just flow out of her. I honestly go back and forth. It is like last year. I had the proof and would not let it go, and she kept saying she does not remember. I don't have any proof as to what they did. I have thought about the D thing. Not sure if I can do that from my religious views. I don't mean legally, but I am not sure if I could live that way and live with myself. Counseling. Here we go again. No, she is not. She mentioned last night that she will be going soon. This was always an issue with me. Last year she went to a bad one, and additionally she lied. She told me that I may need it. I cut that in the bud. I told her I went to several good counselors for a while and I will not be going again for some time. I got all the help and answers I needed, and they all told me to leave her and that she would not stop unless she seriously changes. She said last night that she will be going to the first one that was suggested to her. I am letting it go. I want to see if she goes on her own. I said that is what I wanted her to do over a month ago, and she agreed to share everything in counseling with me. I am still waiting. If I get pissed off, she will go, and I don't want that. I want her to go on her own and do what she said. Allow me to come with her when I feel like it, and for her to share with me what she discussed. On July 13th through July 14th, we had a huge fight. Long story, but by Sunday afternoon we had a resolution. Then Monday and Tuesday I was in a funk. I had 2 nagging questions and they were simmering under the surface for weeks. I should have asked the questions weeks ago but didn't. Finally, on Wednesday, July 17th, I asked them. My wife gave me a long answer on the one and did not want to answer the second one. She said it will cause me too much pain. I said I can take it and I would like her to answer it. She did. I really can't explain it, but it seems like Wednesday was a huge turning point for me. My wife's answers to these questions were what I needed. We will see if my wife follows up on what I told her I needed in response to the one question. So far, she has. Additionally, my wife has been sick. She has been in the ER, seen her family doctor and an ENT specialist. She is scheduled for a special MRI in 2 days. They think she has tumors that are affecting her hearing, making her nauseous, dizzy, fatigue, etc. If this is the case, she could be treated, but the tumors can come back and her hearing might never be the same. Last night I was working on my professional license and she was taking a bath and I sensed something was not right, so I went into the bathroom. She was crying. She feels God is punishing her. She feels awful for what she has done. She feels sick and she has constant loud ringing in her ears. We talked for a long time. She went to bed and fell asleep, something she has not done. She has always waited for me to come to bed or we go to bed together. I am very concerned about her health. Part of me feels cheated. My wife's hearing issues are annoying as I have to repeat myself. The XOM never saw my wife at her worst, never had to put up with her illnesses, never was there when she went to the emergency room, and now that I have decided to I am dealing with a sick wife who may have tumors that are affecting her hearing and are making her sick. None of this is fun. I fully expected to start to have some fun. We went to the beach on Saturday, took our son, and I finally got our golden to swim. I basically had to teach him. In about an hour, he was a pro. My wife basically laid or sat as she felt sick. She could not help me much this weekend around the house as she feels too sick to do much. My wife was crying that all she is doing now is complaining. I told her to knock it off. I said, "You are sick. The doctors are trying to figure it out, and in the meantime, complain." I told her it stinks and I don't like it either, but what are we going to do? I said, either get busy dying or get busy living. If this is what you are stuck with, then you have to find ways to cope. My wife's friends have all abandoned her. Only one brother and one sister have any contact with her, and her sister only contacts her infrequently, which is fine with me. My wife did ask me last night if she could have our niece spend the night when she has federal jury duty. My wife says her niece is flipping out over this, does not want to drive to our city. So, my wife said she wants to offer to help. I said, sure, and I will be spending the night in a hotel when she comes. I said she is a grown adult, has a mother and an older sister who could help her with her anxiety about this. I said she could take the train and stay in a hotel if she does not want to drive in the big city. I don't want a thing to do with this sister or her 2 daughters. My wife has been hinting around to doing stuff with them, and I just say go, but it will be without me. The sad thing was we used to do a lot with these kids, and since they supported my wife in her affair, I want nothing to do with them. Weeks ago, she came out and sat down on our front steps and grabbed my hand and pulled me down to sit beside her. She said, "OP, I am sorry for all the pain I am causing you." She said further, "I have been standing here for a while and just see the pain you are going through, and I know I am the cause of this." I said, "You have no idea." I said, "I feel like a big loser, that I am not even number 2 in your life." I said, "I feel like I am number 9 or number 20. My wife said that she feels like the loser. I said, "No, you aren't. I am, and you are the winner. You got to have lovers in me. You are the one who got to have fun, and you threw me to the curb." She said to me, "You are not any of those things." But she said, "You are right in saying I am the winner." She said, "I won you, and you were the only one who stuck by me." Honestly, I am seeing remorse in my wife. I look at all she has lost. Did she really enjoy her affairs? If someone would have asked her this months ago, or last year, or 4 years ago, or 10+ years ago, I believe her answer would have been yes. I believe if someone would ask her now, she would say that she was the biggest fool ever. She lost just about all her friends, all her high school friends that she reunited with, and some after not talking to them or seeing them in over 30 years. And I mean all of them, want nothing to do with her. Her 2 older brothers have not been in touch with her at all, even after sending them emails apologizing to them. Her oldest brother has not been in contact with her in over a year, and they used to talk for hours and have fun conversations that lasted for hours at least once a week. My wife has ruined some really good friendships. Me, on the other hand, I have gained some new friends and found out that I have some good friends who stuck by me. One sent me over $500 when I needed it and I told him not to do it. And another sent me $1,000, zero and all without strings attached. I would not want what my wife ended up with, even if the best piece of tail would lay down in front of me right now. My youngest son and she were very close. He rarely talks to his mother. They have not seen each other in months. I visited him last weekend. That was part of what our big fight last weekend was about, but that was her fault for not coming along. I tried to get her to come along with me. I can go to sleep at night with the knowledge that I never compromised the marriage. She can't. Yes, I have the pain of betrayal, but I do not live with the pain, like she does, of having caused pain in her life. I did not cause a family split, and I could go on. If a WS is truly remorseful and truly sees the destruction they have caused, I can only imagine that it is not a real joy in dealing with the aftermath for the WS. Part of me says so be it, and part of me has pity. And truthfully, part of me feels some enjoyment in my wife's illness, her suffering, her feeling sick to her stomach, her dizziness. And part of me has a great deal of compassion. Part of me feels that this is God's punishment, and part of me doesn't. And when I put on my theological hat, I know the scripture says, "The rain falls on the just and the unjust." That essentially good and bad things happen to good and bad people. That my wife's illness is just part of life, whether from God or not. The last couple days and even last week I have stayed later at work. My wife was upset and wanted to talk last night. I told her that frankly I don't like coming home. I said it hit me last week and has continued till today. My wife said, "OP, I understand your pain. I caused this, but I need you here. I look forward to you coming home. I have fun with you." She said, "I was at work today. This was yesterday, by the way, and was laughing about some of the things you have said or done over the past weeks and was looking to you are coming home so I could share my day and have some laughs. And when you came home late, I was disappointed." She said, "Please don't work late or sit in a park thinking about things. Come home and share your pain and thoughts with me." I promised her that I would starting today. I can't describe exactly what has come over me other than to say that last week I just did not feel like going home. I really don't feel the need to ask questions much. Most have been answered to my satisfaction and I have no nagging ones. I asked one the other day and my wife answered it. I still get angry and I just don't want to go off on my wife. Last night she said, "OP, you are mad and are avoiding me." I said, "Yes, I am, but I just don't want to go off on you. So I just avoid you." She then said, "OP, I love you. I really like you. I enjoy being with you. Don't push me away." She said, "When you do this, I feel like a complete idiot for what I did to you and it does you no good sitting alone in your thoughts. It will just eat you up and it does you no good nor does it help us." She is right. Today after my groups in the locked psych units I will head home. I am here thinking that I feel like I just got punched in the stomach again and it started last week. Weird how this stuff keeps finding its way back into your head. When I counsel veterans, I talk about intrusive thoughts and I can certainly relate to those things that we witnessed in combat and the thoughts that sometimes have a way of intrusively invading your mind. I have PTSD from my combat tour and it sucks, but what my wife did to me does not compare. I know I will get beyond this and I also know that these waves of emotions will continue for a while. They are getting better, but I hate these setbacks. I can't bond at all with my wife without thinking about what she did. I have tried everything to get these thoughts out of my head, but since the time we started there has not been one time where I have not thought about her and the XOM. Not once. I have not shared this with her. Don't know if it will help me to share it or not, but I feel like it is part of the curse of infidelity. I am really hoping it goes away. The MRI came back negative. My wife does not have brain tumors as her doctor suspected. She is at the doctor's right now and I will see what he suspects now that brain tumors are ruled out. Her condition seems to be getting worse on some days. Anyway, I am moving forward. Went backwards the last week a little bit, but I think I am back on track. 2 months later, I am just so upset. It all started on Tuesday. I was not far from home and an acorn fell on the roof of my truck. I did not know what hit my truck and it was loud. At first, I thought it was a bullet and I had a flashback to Iraq. I did not share this with anyone, but I have been quite a mess inside for the past few days. I deal with this in counseling and it is quite common. So, my anxiety has been through the roof. Then last night, after work last night I found my VAR and was going to erase everything. I have most of it saved anyway. I have not listened to this crap in a long while. So, I started to listen to a portion of each segment before I erased it. Well, I discovered over 4 hours worth of recording in one segment that I had not heard before. I finally got to the point where I hear my wife and the XOM. Not sure of the date. I suspect that it is prior to February 6th this year when I caught her. And after July last year. Every day time I have these VAR, I am so upset that I just never took the time to figure out how the VAR recorded things. And somehow missed this one. When I got home, I was so upset I just went into the bedroom. Felt like screw the dogs, my son, my wife, they typically all greet me. When my wife talked to me, I was reading the Bible. Just needed to read something positive. Just had a sucky evening. My wife cried herself to sleep next to me. She suggested that I just get rid of this stuff, but there will be nothing really new. I have not done so. I listened to some of it on the way to work. So far just typical conversation. I guess it will be a matter of time before I hear the moans. Unless they went to a hotel, though they seem to have been driving quite a bit. I have not been asking my wife any questions for weeks, but I did last night and a few times this morning. She knows this is very upsetting to me and perhaps I am just a sucker to listen to this crap. Just so pissed off again. I believe it is from December. I am just a mess inside. Had a bunch of counseling sessions and everyone thinks I am just doing great. I stayed focused. Had good sessions today. My boss told me I am doing great. And I am just one ducky mess. Frankly, no one would know. I just have a way of holding this crap inside. The 2 other counselors told me that I am being chipper today. Well, if they only knew. R has been doing okay. My wife saw the neurologist today and he scheduled more tests and therapy. He does not know what she has but offered some guesses. But this new recording has set me for a loop and my wife knows it. I am just venting, trying to work through this stuff. The way my wife reacted to me was reassuring. I knew she felt bad about the whole thing and apologized for causing this. She said she thought we would have a good evening and then I came home upset. She asked me at bedtime if I wanted to be left alone. She said she gets the feeling I want to be left alone. I said, really? I sat here and read the Bible. While you sat beside me, I gave my wife a bath. We talked about things. I said we even snuggled for a bit. If I wanted to be alone, I would not be here. She asked me if I am mad at her. I said, I am upset over finding this new recording, but that is all. So, I suspect nothing new, but I am going to listen to it. When my wife was telling me that she understands my mistrust and pain, after her many years of lies, deceit, I just listened. She said, you need to have peace and you have to give this all to God. She is correct. I have proven over the past several months that she has told the truth. I can tell, even when she gets sick, that she is thinking of me. There is not that irritation with me that she had, or those subtle things that used to set my spider senses off. Some of you can relate, and it all has to do with the fact that she was thinking about someone else and I was the person who was preventing her from having complete freedom with her lover. I don't rejoice in this, but I will reiterate what she has lost. All her friends abandoned her. She did reach out to one of them 2 weeks ago and she responded in a nice way through text, saying she is not mad at my wife. Her family is still torn. The 2 oldest brothers have not responded to my wife's pleas to forgive her. Her 2 sisters and youngest brother talk and text, but not like they used to do. Frankly, I owe her brother a little money, and once that is paid off, I really have no desire to be around her family. She got sick and saw a neurologist yesterday who told her that her condition may never improve, or they may never get to the bottom of what is causing her illness. That she will be going through a battery of tests, but she should look at it as a lifelong illness that may never be resolved. That he has seen these types of symptoms before and that they can point to a number of things, and if they are any of the ones he suggested, there is no cure. So she may have to learn to live with it. My wife feels that God has brought this affliction, as she calls it, into her life to humble her. I am not God, nor do I understand these things. I do know that in my theological understanding, that great people in the Bible had afflictions. Job and Paul are 2 examples, and there was never a good answer as to why. Me, on the other hand, my friends have stood by me. Some even gave me money during my difficult times. My family supported me. Many in my wife's family supported me until I had the falling out with the pastor who lied about me to my wife and her family. I still believe he wanted in my wife's pants, wanted to be the hero. As in his statements to my son, my wife and her family, he said, I know how to handle OP. He believes my wife's lies after being told that she would lie by her brother, who is also a pastor in this denomination. I told the truth and he said I lied and that my wife was telling the truth, that I was a controlling man. I am still thinking about suing him over the breach of confidentiality. My brother-in-law believe in pastoral authority, meaning that you must be under the rule and direction of a pastor or you are outside the protection of God. I understand this theology, but I categorically reject it. I do not need any intermediary between me and God. The crap in the church and in religion in general is because there are people who feel they have a special anointing from God. I just heard a person who had retired as the president of Compassion International on the radio who was abused at a young age in a school he attended while his parents served a missionary. They told the children never to tell their parents. When he did at the age of 10, his mother had a nervous breakdown when she heard the horrible story. That the very people she trusted to care for her precious child abused him in very horrible ways. Some will say that this is the reason they are not involved in any religious organizations. Wife's condition has gotten worse today. She has been crying, staying in bed, and it is going to be another horrible evening. I feel sorry for her. The buzzing in her left ear has not stopped since July 7th, and it is getting worse. The vertigo has gotten worse as of Sunday. I called her today and she keeps telling me it is getting worse and that she had a difficult time getting to the bathroom and has been in bed most of the day. She called off work. She can't drive, and this is all new as her condition is getting worse. She is on new meds that helped her Sunday, but she said they are not helping today. She feels like she is about to crack up with the vertigo and ear buzzing. She said no matter what she does, everything keeps spinning, whether her eyes are closed or opened. I don't know what to do for her. She called her doctors, aunt and neurologist, and they have not returned her calls. She said if she has to drive somewhere, she will not be able to do so. I will leave work early today. I know I should not say this, but it would be so much easier dealing with her health issues if she would not have done to me what she did. She is not faking her illness. Last night she was in bed, asleep before me. We normally go to bed together. I can say all I want about this, but the bottom line is she is ill. And to tell you the truth, there is not a day, not one, where what you are saying does not go through my head. She did all this for the XOM, I heard her moans, and now I get hardly anything. I sat on the front stoop yesterday morning and this morning thinking about this. I have sat on the back stoop over the past weeks thinking about this. I sat in the hospital on Sunday thinking about this. So now I finished my pity party and here is the reality. 1. My wife did not plan on getting sick. 2. Her illness is real. 3. Had she not had the A and had it not been so recent, what would be my response? I would take care of her. I would deal with the fact that bonding would diminish or end. Added income from her working will stop. Her running errands would be limited, etc. 2 of my friends lost their wives to cancer recently. One of them is the guy I mentioned above who told me home when I was going to really the XOM when I broke into the meat plant. And truthfully, I have thought about packing up and leaving just due to the stress of it all. Last night my wife was watering the plants outside. My son asked me to take him to church and I thought she heard my son ask me. I went inside to get the truck and car keys. My wife asked me where I was going. I said I am going out. I had forgotten that these were the very words my wife used when she was cheating on me, and we had several arguments about this where I threw it up in her face. "Oh, you are going out." My wife got a very concerned look on her face and said, "Why are you leaving me?" I started laughing and said, "I am taking our son to church." "I thought you heard him ask me." She said, "Don't scare me like that." It did not dawn on me till I was driving how the scenario might have looked in her eyes. I do think she feels I might just up and leave. I suspect with our recent history of where she did not give a damn about me since couple years ago, she feels I might come to have those same feelings. I am not sure. Last night she got into the bathtub and laid there crying. I went in and washed her. She said all I can do right now is think about myself. She said her eyes are constantly seeing things moving that she can't stop things from moving. I get it when people become chronically ill. I worked in that field for years as a chaplain. I have seen caregivers burn out, give up their entire life for the ill person. I am hoping that my wife can be helped or even cured. She may have chronic disease and it's permanent. I honestly don't look forward to dealing with it. I will deal with it, but this new state of events in her health will affect going on vacations, having normal conversations, etc. Frankly, my biggest concern is even with good medical insurance, the loss of income and the co-pays are going to destroy us. About a month later, my wife got shingles 2 weeks ago. So, add to her vertigo, ear ringing. She now has severe pain from the shingles. She complained of a side pain and a rash and I said, "You have shingles." I took her to an urgent care center and they confirmed it. She has had some very bad days with it. Last night she did not sleep at all. And yes, she is on all the meds for it. She fired her neurologist. She saw her aunt doctor yesterday and now he is saying Meniere's disease and will start more tests. She has had on top of the shingles severe sickness with the vertigo. There are days she walks around the house like a drunken sailor and I have to steady her. We don't do much together as she is very ill and in pain. About 3 weeks ago my wife had an appointment with her one doctor back at our other home. She had to drive by the XOM's house. I placed a VAR in her car. There was one stop she made that did not make sense and she was gone a while. The VAR picked something up and I was able to identify it as a store that we used to go shopping at, and my wife told me later that she had stopped there. My wife wanted to go to her toxic sisters and asked me about it. I said go, but don't ever expect me to do anything with your sister. Ever, and don't involve me with her. My wife said she would not go. I thought she might. Well, the VAR picked up everything very clearly, and there was nothing at all that she did wrong. Spent time with my youngest son, talked to me on the phone, and that was it. She listened to shows on the radio that she had not listened to in years and played a Christian 400. So, it validated that she is on the right path. I miss the bonding. My wife has been sick since around July 6th and our physical life is virtually gone. I am okay with this for now as I know she is sick. It stinks, but I am okay with it. My wife keeps telling me that she loves me and prays for me quite a bit. She has told me many times to stop worrying about her cheating. She told me the other night that when she got caught in February, it was as if God told her to get on this train or else. That this was the last train out and if you don't get on it, you are doomed. She said she got on that train. Ironically, at that moment she was telling me this. The local train came by and blew its whistle. I am not making this up. My wife started laughing and said, "See, God is sending you a little sign." So, right now I am taking care of my wife the best I can. She is not working. My wife, even in her illness, is busting her back to make things right with me. I am not sure. I know my wife feels it. She has been mentioning to me to talk to her more about it, and I told her I just don't think it is fair to bring it up at this time. She told me to talk to her and that fairness has nothing to do with it. I told her I just don't know that I feel that things are okay, but her being sick is just compounding everything. And that I am being hit with the entire affair all over again. My wife says she loves me and will do whatever it takes to make things right. I really don't expect an answer just blowing off steam. But why did I do all that I did to get a sick wife? I have felt at times of packing her stuff, putting her in my truck and dropping her off at the XOM's house and say, "You take care of her." I know that the lack of bonding is making me feel distance, and right now I have to deal with that. Honestly, physical affection is not everything. But still, 1 month later update. 1. Wife's condition has gotten worse. She quit her job the other day and was crying about it this morning. 2. Meniere's syndrome has been ruled out. 3. My wife fired her neurologist 2 weeks ago. He was useless and it is a long story. She will be seeing another group in February. 4. Have taken her to the ER several times since last post and it was all worthless. They all said she needs to see a neurologist. 5. All the tests she has had points to a central brain or central nervous system disorder. Not an ear issue as we had thought. 6. She can spend more than 17 hours in bed with severe vertigo. 7. She fears she might be gone soon. Me, I am trying to stay above this. I keep my mouth shut as far as the affair goes. I have had some terrible triggers and keep them to myself. She has made contact with her family and whenever she talks about them, I just move on to another subject. My oldest son said we are invited to my wife's brother's house for New Year's, and I said you can go with you, mother. I am not ready to deal with her family in any shape, form or manner. My wife does not push it. She can barely drive. All I can say is my wife's health is declining, and though her condition may not be critical. However, if her decline continues, she will be basically bedridden in a few months. My wife does say I am the only one that cares about her. Bonding is now very infrequent. That is part of my frustration. Things were fairly good up till July 6th, the day she got sick. I understand she is sick, and I do mean very ill. I know she feels bad about this as she mentions it. She tells me she loves me all the time. She says she is grateful that I have given her another chance. Right now, I have a wife who can barely walk, has constant headaches, dizziness, nausea, etc., and her world is spinning and her ear is buzzing. There are times she can't hear me speak. My comment: this story does not end here. Let me take a quick break and I will finish the next video very soon.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit any time, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their inn. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike. What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that?" "Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.